Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you all are doing well today. I know this is a first video that I've posted in a while, so I do apologize about that. I do want to express that I've been thinking a lot about this project and thinking a lot about in terms of setting up your media plans to be as successful as possible. So I've been doing my best in terms of talking with some former students as well as some clients as well that I've worked with in the past in terms of what are some of the easiest ways to approach this particular project and to, again, help you out as much as possible in terms of getting this project done in a timely manner. Now, I do want to mention that the focus of today's particular set, so the thing that I really want everybody to focus on for this particular assignment. So this is not going to be due on Friday or anything because, quite frankly, it'll take a while to do this. I think if you really sit down and think about everything that you're trying to accumulate over the next few weeks, this will be probably one of the most difficult things that we do in this class. So the budget is something that is difficult to do. But the good news is once you get this down, it not only helps with the accumulation of what you want to do with your budget, but also what you want to do as far as your schedule as well. So if you have one, you more than likely have the other, because you might sit there and say, okay, well, I want to do 4 magazine spots within a year in terms of how many times this particular magazine publishes things. And so that might be a good way to determine your schedule and your budget simultaneously. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a couple of ways to accumulate some of the areas within your budget, and also show you a couple of tools that you can utilize in terms of making this kind of easy, because I know not everybody are wizards in Excel, or maybe you've used it before. So I want to give you an easy tool to be able to just enter numbers in and it just spit out the results for you. I think that will be an easy way to do this. First and foremost, I think the biggest question is, Dr. Daniel, how do I set up my budget? You've given me a total, or my company has given me a total, and I'm not 100% sure to what to do from there. And so this is a bit of a difficult process. It's difficult because it's kind of a blank slate. And this is why I don't assign a rubric to it, because every single one of you that are doing these projects are going to have significantly different budgets and media mixes, and you're going to be doing things differently from one another. And that's going to take time, and it's going to take energy, and it's not going to be easy in terms of me creating a rubric for you all. So this is why I'm doing this video for you, just to kind of show you some things you should be looking for. I do want to mention that, like I said, you need to be creative when it comes to setting up this budget. And, this goes in part of, some of you have already turned in your media mixes for me to look at, and I am absolutely ecstatic about that. I think that's an awesome step in the right direction, and I really appreciate your hard work and commitment to the media plan. With this, though, this will give you a head start in terms of what you should be looking for and what does your budget allow. So for some of you, you have a national client, which, we mentioned is anywhere from $5 to $10 million. 5 is, I mentioned that one because I specifically labeled a national client as $5 million to one particular student. The rest of you, I said, if you are a national client and you cannot get a budget allocated, go with $10 million for right now. Just something to play with right now. And that includes one of my students that has Verizon, stay with $10 million. So I don't want to get any confusion there. So national clients, $10 million. Otherwise, I usually say about 10,000, unless otherwise specified for like local clients. And that's a big deal, because with local clients, you're going to have a lot less in terms of what I'm going to be showing here in terms of your media kits. And this is the first thing I'm going to be going over here. So as you can see here, I've got Mountain Times publications, and typically the smaller the organization, the easier it is to get their media kit. this is what you're looking for when you're trying to allocate a budget. You can go onto Google and say, here's a particular media vehicle. Let's say I want to go in the Watauga Democrat, local newspaper around here, and I want to say, how much does it cost to put a ad on their website, so on their online journalism website that they have. So I can scroll down, and they'll give you, this is really cool. I love having these kind of things as far as being a media planner. They give us metrics in terms of 9,000 page views per month. And right off the bat, they go into online ad rates. So like I said, you can go into Google and they will give you a specific, you can go on Google and type in Watauga Democrat media kit rates. And I guarantee you this is what will show up. And some of you might want to take advantage of this one specifically. So like I said, they show you the different types of ad space. They show you the run of site, which is $10,000, so $125. In all things considered, this isn't that expensive. They even talk about mobile advertising, and in terms of the impressions, this is cool. So if you're looking for overall impressions, they provide them for you. And that's a really nice thing to be able to have here. And again, these are the kind of things, on $300 a month if you do online ad rates. So you can do this in terms of scheduling. Let's say you want to have in your year schedule, in terms of not only in your budget, but in your media schedule, you want to have a banner ad at the Watauga Democrat for $300 a month up here. And so that's easy as just putting it into the schedule and putting it into your budget. So again, really, really simple here. And so online ad rates, again, we can see these that they publish for the Watauga Democrat. And again, this is a really easy way to look through some of these prices here and to give you an example for what you might be going through. Now, there will be, you may have more high profile clients here. And so let's say I did a regional one for here. So Garden and Gun is a very famous magazine here in the Southeast. They have a lot of good recipes and just a lot of good stories. And they advertise a ton on Garden and Gun. And it's probably some of the most beautiful advertising I've ever seen. I'm giving them free publicity right now. But you can notice in terms of metrics, they tell you what their target range is. So 90% are 35 years and older, or 90%, excuse me. But, and they have calendar stuff here. There we go. Oh, no, not accolades. There we go, rates. And again, see, obviously more expensive here in terms of the money spent. But let's say one of you mentioned that you were doing Snapple, for instance, and you want to have sweet tea in the South being advertised. This is an option for what you could potentially do. Again, this is that creative side in terms of thinking, where is my customer base going to be most? Some of you, as local clients, have a pretty easy job to do because you would say, I'm in West Jefferson. So I'd probably stay in West Jefferson or Boone or Lenoir or Hickory, just around this high country area. And that would be pretty easy. National clients, you got to use your imagination just a bit more. So you probably have a little bit more access to things and you probably have more work to play with, but there's a give and take to if you're doing a national client versus a local client. It's like I said, some things are more difficult than others. And like I said, if you have a national client, you got a lot more money to play with in this case. And so, like I said, you could do a full page ad for these 6 times a year and talk about the gross that comes out of it. Now, not all media kits are going to be easily accessible. So this was local, this was regional. I can even do, I already looked this up, is Cosmopolitan Media Kit, and they provide their rates. So right here, they show you all the prices that they're going to have right here for color and black and white. So that's pretty interesting. So that's one thing we could look at in terms of national, local, and regional. However, some magazines, so this is for the 2 gentlemen who are working with craft breweries in this case. And so let's say you want to do All About Beer magazine. I know I'm doing a lot of magazines right here, but this pertained to ESPN and NBC as well, as I was looking through some of those today in terms of their media kits. And advertising with All About Beer means that you need to contact them. And that may be a little bit of a hassle, but it might be worth doing if you plan on working with a very specific magazine or television program or whatever. But this is just something to think about if you are doing a very specific type of product, and you've got magazines or some kind of resources that you might have in terms of how they'd publish it, in terms of people who would be interested in beer. And like I said, the gentlemen who are working with the brewery, I can't really give you the metrics right off the top of my head, but I can give you the contact information if you wanted it, in terms of what to say. There may also be, so let's say a lot of you have talked about posting within social media. And so this is a little bit different in terms of the information you want to post here. But you can see in terms here at the bottom here, you can have a lifetime or daily budget to use here. And these will probably be cost per click in terms of what you'll be doing here. Or it could just be how much money you want to spend on a daily budget. And again, that makes it really easy because you can go in not only on your budget, but you can also schedule it as well, based on budget and schedule down here. So, like I said, once you get your budget for something like social media, for in this case Facebook, you can show how much you're spending per week, and that would be not only a help towards your budget, but your media schedule as well. So in this case, you could just go in and talk about like Facebook or YouTube or Snapchat, and look at the metrics that have to go with that. And this is a lot of hypothetical, so you kind of have to play a little bit, but at the same time, this is how my students have done this in the past. And so I'm going to give you a demonstration of what one of these budgets looks like. And don't be alarmed when you see it the first time, because it is very comprehensive. This is actually the very final project on a 2-tier budget. So this particular client wanted a $10 million budget and see what you could do with it, and a $15 million budget to see what you can do with it. So don't be alarmed when I show you this. So the budget tables right here look like this. And this this is actually done by one of my media planning prodigies, as I call them. I've had 2 of them in the past that they got it, and they understood it really, really well. They were very good in Excel before they even got into the class, and it's no shame or disrespect to anybody who isn't very good in Excel. You don't need to be, but this is just somebody who knew what they were doing kind of as they went along and worked really well here. So, but you can see here in terms of the quantity and cost, as well as cost per unit that this person did. And you don't inherently have to do this, but it does show you the breakdown of how he did his media mix. And I'm going to post this up on As You Learn to kind of give you an example of what this looks like. So he's got his retail in terms of window banner ads, shopping heart handles, wow, a little spoonerism there, escalator wraps, coupons, etc. And you can see how much they cost. Now, his in particular, I believe he looked at a specific grocery store. So, and this is something that you can kind of mess with a little bit. I'm not going to be too picky. I just want to know if you say, I'm going to look at the metrics within Harris Teeter and see how much everything costs. That's fine. I believe he did this one for a local grocery store in Fargo here. But he also went into Hulu, Spotify, Pandora, digital web banners, product placement. And what's cool about this is you can go through these and say, if I know the cost per unit for Hulu, Spotify, and this is already provided by this particular student, you can use these. I have no problem with you using some of these right here. You just got to have some rationale for your quantity here. You will also, he also put outdoor ads in terms of bus shelter ads, billboards, elevator wraps, etc. Now his in particular were, you notice the 32 right here. He went over and did a spot map of college towns all over the country and did billboards. I'm not expecting that from you. You know, in 4 weeks, you don't need to do that. All I want are the totals and the kind of ideas behind them. So just break them down as well as you can. They don't have to be this, detailed here. So, and again, this does not indicate the amount of work he did with this. Like I said, the 32 was very specifically crafted. We also have cost per unit within social media in terms of Facebook. So we've got $2, and you can utilize these, and please do. I really want you to try to utilize these particular types of advertising here. And so, like I said, we've got cost per unit in this case for each one of these. Traditional. We didn't really do much for traditional. We actually spent way more on social viral mobile than we did traditional media within New York Times, Reader's Digest, and Entertainment Weekly. Only was just a hair short under $1 million here. So then we have PR promotional. You might want to consider this when you're looking through your PR strategies and figure out what you might want to do in this case. You don't have to do much, as, again, there wasn't a whole lot done here. The field days were most expensive in this case. But you'll see total cost, and then whatever's left, it can be your contingency spending. And I'd usually like to say around 5% is what you're looking for contingency spending overall. I've had students in the past go as far as 10%. And I wrote that on your email that you could hypothetically do 10%. I'd still like you to stick it around 5 or lower in terms of the percentage, just because this will make it a little bit easier. But you do want to have some kind of fund for you to be using here in terms of having this to spend. And you'll be able to see here, okay, so this is kind of cool. You can be able to see here that all the types of data that he used. If you look at the FX formula up here, again, all the equations are handed out. So if you are really savvy, you can go into your own and take out his numbers in terms of some of the information here, here, and here. Keep the cost per unit and do it yourself. So that's an option. But let's say you're kind of in the spot where you're like, Dr. Daniel, I really don't want to, I don't know what I'm doing. And you might also want to, by chance, do a, not only your budget, but your scheduling together. So at first I thought, I don't know if I'd want to do this, but if you'd like to work on budget and scheduling together, I have a spreadsheet that was very graciously provided by another website. And this is really cool. So they actually have quarters listed in terms of how you want to spend in a fiscal year and with the totals within it. So let's say I want to spend $5,000 on newspaper ads. So $5,000, and I want to keep doing that here. Let's say I don't want to publish in quarter number 2, but I do want to in quarter number 3. And this may be contingent on when people buy your product. So maybe it's January, February, March, and July, August, and September. These are some hot spots where people like to purchase a particular product. So not only do we have fiscal year, so that may be really hard to see. Let me zoom in. I'm going to take that back for a minute. There we go. Okay, I imagine that's a little better. So you've got fiscal year totals here. You've got totals at the bottom here, and overall. So there are some areas here. So newspaper, in-store, banner ads, POP, so point of purchase. You might have public events that you want to promote. Some content marketing if you would want to do that. I probably would stay away from that. Social media is on here, online, in terms of blogs, websites, etc., advertising. I mean, this is kind of a little bit on the nose here, but you could just use this one specifically. Really, I mean, in fact, I might even include like social media down here where I've got it highlighted, and include the totals that I get from here. So digital and social media Hot by Chance. You can have web in terms of development, pay-per-click, SEO. So if you want to do some search engine optimization, you can do that here. I'd really stay away from surveys and impact studies. You're not doing marketing research too much right here in terms of putting it into your budget, nor are you doing premiums, business card signage, anything like that. So I'd stay with everything up to web in terms of some of the things used. And again, if you don't use them, you don't use them. But again, this will not only help within your budget, but in your, like I said, your particular media plan budget as well. So this is the premise of what we're dealing with here. And I hope this isn't too terribly complicated. Like I said, the biggest challenge for you is trying to be creative in terms of the way that you spend your money. So think of it in the sense of what vehicle is going to work best for your particular client. And again, this may be inventing, a whole new strategy in terms of things that you're thinking about here. Coming up with the best way to spend your money based on these media vehicles. And then second is, allocation of the money. So this can be a little bit difficult if you're not used to doing this. But the best thing I can say is take a couple hours to just play. Go into the media kits, look them up, go into your annual marketing budget, like I said, if you want to use this, and just play around. Go through and type in a couple of numbers of what you might think works well here, there, etc. And the good news is that a lot of these examples are already on here. So let's say you're going through some of this information and you're saying, oh, I want to do retail. I hadn't even considered retail. POP's right here. So you can go in and look through POP. Again, you can use the example that I gave you a little earlier. And in terms of saying your Facebook, how much money do I want to spend in terms of cost per unit on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram? And again, this can help you a lot in terms of what you plan to do. Start with your media mix. Start with what you want to do within your media mix first. And then kind of put it in a spreadsheet. Think about what you'll want to do from there. And then start playing around with the money. That can be the best advice that I give you to succeed in this project.